Welcome to the Infomullet YouTube channel. If you enjoy this content, please like or share. And if you'd like to support the Infomullet by becoming a mulleteer, visit us on Patreon. We appreciate your support. This dovetails actually into the broader question, which is what's going on with Wave 2, right? By the way, tests in DC have spiked. There is a definite spike. This is a small town relative to other towns, and they're all interconnected. And there's been a sharp test and request of increase in tests. So I'm not saying DC is going to be hit by a major outbreak from this, but people are nervous. This is a very interconnected town, a very relationship-based town. But let's take a step back and look at the broader picture, which is COVID-19 Wave 2 worldwide. So Wave 2 is, we always suspected it was going to come in the fall, and we're seeing evidence of that now. And what this is the Vienna Institute Corona Traffic Light Tracker. The Vienna Institute is a complexity research science group in Vienna, Austria. They're very good. I like their tracker because it gives us a nice view and has a couple functions. The link to this is in the, so I put the world layer on, and to clear the, green is less than one positive test per 100,000 inhabitants within the last 14 days. So this is a positive infection rate. Yellow is less than 10 cases tested positive. Red is 10 and up. And the basic, when this was first released, the scientists were out there talking on the Santa Fe Complexity Institute, which is another group I work, deal with on the Facebook stuff. They were saying, if it's yellow, you don't want to travel there. If it's red, they're not going to let people leave. So that gives you a gauge. Green is where you want to be on this map. And you can see that this is now, a lot of red is coming on in Europe and things like that. And you can hover over these and see the number of positive cases per 100,000. So we can zoom in a little bit here, and we can see that the United Kingdom, 16 positive, France is up to 24 positive, Spain, 32 positive per 100,000, Denmark's getting, 11 positive. Some of the Nordic countries, the Baltic countries, my favorite audience in Sweden, play that Sabaton, they're at 6 positive cases per 100,000. That's higher than their Norway. They're probably double Norway, a little bit double Finland, about the same as Poland or Germany, double Germany actually. So, but the second wave that's hitting is hitting in these European countries that you see here in red. Doesn't mean it's not going to spread. In the US, to shift over, you can look at it by state, and it's really, I talked a couple weeks ago about the risk of the ping pong effect. And the ping pong effect is when you think about the United States is very large, it has multiple regional reservoirs, and it starts in the Northeast, and the South is unaffected. So the South gets lax, and it goes from the Northeast to the South. The South has its outbreak. Meanwhile, the Northeast gets calm. It gets laxed. It moves from the South into the North Central or the Mid Central, and then back to the Northeast. And you see here, KP was talking about Massachusetts. So you can see here, Massachusetts, that's Rhode Island, 10.7 positive cases. So just above the yellow to red split, but not looking good. But check out these northern states. Everyone's like, I'm in Montana or North Dakota. There's no one here. If I didn't see if Joe Hogan's on, these rural areas are like, well, we don't need to worry. We're by ourselves, no problems. Montana, 40 cases per 100,000 in the last 14 days. North Dakota, 73 positive cases per 100,000. That's an astonishing positive rate. 24, Wyoming's 28, South Dakota's 64. So you can see how it's ping-ponged up. It went from the South into the Mid-Central. It's now in the North Central, and my guess is it will spread out to the coast again. And we'll have this rapidly rotating ping pong effect as it bounces between these reservoirs and continues. Each area is like, hey, we're fine, relax. And then it picks up because we haven't dealt with this as a nation. We haven't had a national response, whether it's hammer and dance or panopticon, which I don't think we can do, but we haven't really done the steps necessary to deal with this. Our contact tracing is still not sufficient. Our testing isn't still sufficient. Everyone keeps hoping it's ending. Well, here we are now in October, and flu season's coming. Flu usually starts October, November, December, February, January, February, sometime in there it peaks. I'd say, I don't know at all when flu season is going to start this year, but we're in the risk area of getting a flu season on top of a coronavirus, and that's bad news. But another reason I like the coronavirus, this tracker, is it has a nice, easy, you can do a trend analysis. Click this button here. And what the trend does is it shows whether the trend is rising or falling. And you can see up here that a light green indicates a falling trend, and the light pink to purple, the darker the purple, the higher the trend. And what this is it's the angle of the slope. So if you think about remember when we looked at these rates of change, the angle of the slope, the higher that slope gets, the faster it's accelerating. So a rising trend with a higher slope means that you have an active outbreak and that exponential feedback effect is going on. Well, a lot of purple out here. And this is where, we look at the traffic light, we say, let's pick on our Baltic states, right? Oh, the Baltic states are all yellow. That's not as bad as red, right? Yellow better than red, not bad. But you look at the trend, and I'm sorry, I'm navigating around. Zoom is trying to put the bar, there we go. So you click on the trend, and you see that they are accelerating, right? The trend in the Baltic states is acceleration. So it's, even though it's yellow now, it may be worse later. And of course, the US is dark purple. Canada's accelerating. That's scary because Canada is struggling now with a new outbreak. This is what wave 2 looks like. It looks like accelerating trends hitting areas, and a lot of it's in the northern hemisphere. Brazil does not have, now we don't know what the reporting on Brazil has a declining. It went through its big spike and is still suffering, but it's a declining trend. That doesn't mean the problem the world's going to face is just like that ping pong effect I described for the US, where different regions act as reservoirs and then ping pong to other regions when they get lax. The world is now in a ping pong state. Certain countries have done well and continue to do well, but there's enough regional reservoirs that Brazil is going to have its wave 2. And it may be a couple months from now, but it's going to ping pong from some reservoir in the northern hemisphere back south. And so this is a real challenge of the wave 2, and all of this is happening right on top of on top of the flu season. So the good times of the summer, when we only had COVID to worry about, is declining, because now we're into the flu season, and that's going to go on top. And you see this on the death rate, which, let me bring that up real quick. The US death rate has still, so this is the US death chart, and just to clear the charts, the daily deaths per, right here in the absolute number, and the little blue lines is every day's daily death. The red line is a 7-day moving average. I've got 2 outlier events marked here where a state dumped a bunch of reported deaths all at once without really allocating them to days. It was sort of a backlog, which kind of creates some outlier effects. But you can see really clearly now, here's wave 1. It goes down. It never really ends. Wave 1.5 comes up, and it's been tapering off. But remember, we're in those rising rates now. So we're going to get hit by wave 1.5 will probably just smooth into wave 2 right as the flu season hits. And we're already at 210,000 deaths. So this is surpassed. Flu is normally 18,000. I think the worst was 60,000 in 2018. We passed the Vietnam War. We passed World War I. We're heading toward the Civil War for casualties. I think that's 400,000. World War II might be a couple. I mean, we're hitting those numbers, and this is just in the first year without a flu season yet. That's why I stay concerned about this. And although I'm, you kind of make light of the White House outbreak because it's kind of self-inflicted, these are really serious things that people continue not to take this seriously, and we're continuing to suffer because of it. So let me check to see if there are, let's see here, some questions. By red, do you mean orange? This is Ryan's question. Yeah, if it's reddish orange, it may not come through well. Basically, and the links are on there. If you want to go play around with the site, the link to the Vienna Institute's on the links there. Joe's confirming that rural North Missouri is still in full denial. Elizabeth, Montana has counties going completely against any preventive measures. Well, and that's the thing is, if it's not in your area, this is what happened in the White House, right? They're thinking, well, we've had a few people get sick, but no major problems. Even with 10 million people have been infected in the US, that's probably 3% of the population. So with everything that's gone on, only 3% of the population, if you aren't in that area, you're in denial potentially. This isn't real, they're exaggerating it. But once it hits you, it's too late. If you aren't doing the preventative measures you need to do a week prior to that super spreader event, you're gone in the water, because you're going to find out a week or two after the super spreader event, And by that point, the people who got infected at the super spreader event have already infected the second round of people who themselves are spreading out. And this is the challenge of COVID. You've got to have, you know, the White House effectively shut down on Friday. From what I'm reading and hearing, the halls are empty. Most staffers are working remotely. Everything's being cleaned. But that was done last Friday. It's too late. There's already been a second round of infections, and who those people may have exposed coming out of this. Now, maybe it gets contained after that because, you know, they're going to take it seriously. Who knows? Trisha saying, get your flu shot. Absolutely true. Trisha, will falling temperatures make the second wave even more intense by keeping people indoors? Couple things. The COVID, generally coronaviruses like cooler temperatures. So that's going to favor them. Obviously, hot temperatures didn't keep it from expanding. That was a big myth. Obviously, as people come indoors, it's better to be outdoors than indoors. Recirculated air is very bad. So, and just in fall, people tend to be sicker. Their immune systems are less robust. There's other things going on. They got flus and all these bugs. Generally, fall and winter is a bad time for illnesses. It's just the way it is. And certainly, I don't think that's going to be any different from COVID. We haven't seen any indication that it will get lighter. So I'm unfortunately calling it's going to be much worse, which means we may have you know, a 300,000 death tally by the end of the year, and we may continue right into January, February at those numbers. So this is going to be something, you know, the presidential campaign is going to end one way or another here coming up, but the COVID pandemic is not going to end for a long time. You know, it's make peace with the new normal, unfortunately. So thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to follow the Infomullet, visit us on Facebook or Twitter. And if you'd like notifications when we post new video content, click on the red subscribe button below the video. If you've ever wanted to become a mulleteer and support the Infomullet, visit us on Patreon. We appreciate the support.